we can sit and talk about baseball all day long, and I wouldn't care a thing about it. But the show must move on to a different topic. So we all love college basketball season, and March is next week. We love March Madness, so we're going to do like a little NCAA postseason preview. We're going to have some teams that make the tournament, miss the tournament, and on this show we're actually going to do a bracketology coverage after the brackets are released next week. But I think it'll be fun to discuss, as of right now, which teams do we think are going to miss the bus? Which teams do you think are surefire locks? So I think it'd be fun to, some big name teams with big name coaches, big name programs, Final Four teams that are not going to make the tournament this year. I'm going to go first because I'm pretty certain that the Memphis Tigers are not going to make the NCAA tournament, and here's why. Penny Hardaway, terrible basketball coach. Terrible. And I'm a Kentucky fan, obviously. So it's pretty easy for me to say that when you have top recruiting classes year after year, it's hard to win games. Coach Cal, but he figures a way to do it. He's done it for years. Penny Hardaway tries to do it. It ain't working. So he's got Jalen Duren, Imani Bates, top recruiting classes. They're 15-9. Their current net rank is 44. That's pretty decent. They can win out and possibly get an at-large bid, but they really need to win the American Conference for an automatic bid to secure a spot. They have losses to Iowa State, Ole Miss, Georgia, who is terrible. Terrible. Georgia is a joke of a college basketball team. Murray State, very good basketball team, mid-major. Tulane, name one player on Tulane's roster. Can't. UCF, same thing. Can't. East Carolina and SMU. Those are the losses that the Memphis Tigers have. Now, don't get me wrong. College basketball is as evenly matched as it has ever been. But when you have literally 2 top 5 recruits on your roster, you should win more games against those types of teams. Those two players alone that I mentioned are enough to win games against mid-major schools. With recruiting classes that they put together, there's no reason Penny should keep his job if they don't make the tournament this year. He's not won an NCAA tournament game as a head coach, and I believe this is his 3rd or 4th year, 5th year maybe. I don't even know. I don't keep up with him. I do know that he gets a lot of players and doesn't do anything with them. But I'll give him this. They did win the NIT last year. That ever-elusive NIT. But who gives a crap about the NIT? Are they going to hang a banner for winning the NIT? We ain't Tennessee up in here.
100%
we ain't Tennessee up in here. I'm going to pick another team. They're in the news recently. The Michigan Wolverines, man. They've had a rough year. Juwan Howard, 16-11. According to Jerry Palm of CBS Sports, they're the first 4 out. Jerry Palm also had Memphis as the first 4 in as of yesterday when I looked. Things changed. There's a couple more games left. Michigan has a good chance of getting in if they have a deep tournament run. Having a difficult season with, the distraction of the punch, or what I would like to say, the open hand, disrespectful man slap. The team is they make consistent deep tournament runs every year. They're having a difficult season, but they beat another bubble team recently on Wednesday in Rutgers. But we'll finish the season playing 4 top 25 teams that are currently ranked in the top 25. That's a tough road to get through. They're bad losses. They lost against Rutgers, who may or may not be a tournament team. They're a bubble team as well. Seton Hall, they're probably a tournament team, but another team in the Big East that not going to jump out on paper at you. Those Big East teams are scary. I'm not going to lie. Nebraska, UCF, who also beat Memphis, and then Minnesota. So those teams aren't really, they don't jump out at you. Maybe 2 tournament teams there. But Michigan and Memphis both, I don't think, in my opinion, either of them make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
What are y'all's picks?
Well, I want to touch on, Penny is trying to be the John Calipari. Cal was there, and I think it was like 06 through like 09 or something like that. And, if you're going to try and be like him, you got to do a better job than what he's been doing. And my take on Michigan is, for whatever reason, everybody loves the Big Ten, and I'm in Big Ten country here in Illinois, and watching those games, I can't tell if the teams are just that good or if they're just, they're so bad they just play each other so tough, and people just love the Big Ten. So I think Michigan does have a chance of playing their way in, depending how they finish the season. But respect to Juwan Howard for slapping a man.
That's so gangster. It's so good. It's so disrespectful.
Hey, I want to throw one thing out on Memphis before we move on. They did beat Arizona this season. So that's a huge win. That's a 1 seed unanimously for everybody right now. So something to watch. I do think they're a bubble team. I wouldn't be shocked either way. But that Arizona win usually is a win that sticks out to the committee.
Yeah.
I just think Penny Hardaway's a baby. And
Frank, you're just mad that we lost out on some recruits. It's okay.
It worked out for the better. Would you want to have anybody playing over Oscar Tshiebwe right now? Absolutely not. The dude's going to win Player of the Year.
Oh, hands down. It's not even close.
It's going to help it. It's going to help us out as a Kentucky fan. It's going to help us out because we can possibly get Oscar back for another year. All of our backup bigs come back, and they're getting valuable playing time right now. So it's going to help our team later on. Usually, when Coach Calipari loses out on a recruit, it's for a good reason.
Yeah.
Except for like when you're like Zion and RJ Barrett and all those guys. Those are different guys. But when we're up to the last minute, Andrew Wiggins is another one that comes to mind that you can put in that category that we thought we were going to get, but we didn't. When you put, recruits up in that final last two and they end up not picking Kentucky, for some reason I think Cal's like, hey, you know what? You might need to pick that other school. That's my opinion. Because when we lose out on those recruits, you don't hear a lot about them. But other than there are exceptions of the ones I mentioned. But who are the guys that you have that are on the bubble that may not make it?
Yeah, so this one hurts my heart. It really does. But I'm going to add one more bad loss to that Michigan team that you just rattled off, and that's UNC. I really don't think my North Carolina Tar Heels are going to make the tournament this year. I don't think the ACC is strong at all. I don't think they're getting 5 teams in unless, a wild card wins that ACC tournament. Carolina is 1-4 this season against ranked opponents. That one win was when Michigan was ranked. They're 1-7 in quad 1 games, which, the quad system, that's big for the committee. That one win was against a bubble Michigan team that's no longer ranked. Their leading scorers averaging 3 turnovers, shooting under 40% from the field. They play NC State today, which is a winnable game. They should win that. But then they finish with Syracuse and Duke at Cameron. This is not a team that's built to play Syracuse. They don't shoot the ball well from outside. They're inconsistent. They do not have a playmaker that can stand in the middle of that zone and beat a Boeheim team. I think they dropped both those games. I think it's an early exit in the ACC tournament, and they missed the big dance for the second time in 3 seasons. Then the second team I have is a Big East team, Creighton Blue Jays. Most brackets have them locked in pretty solid right now. They're a 9 or a 10 at, most sites when you check. They're tied for 3rd in Big East standings, which is a team that probably gets 6, maybe 7 teams in. But they have number 8 Villanova, number 11 Providence, and a Seton Hall team that beat them by 19 earlier in the season in their last 3 games. They also lost Ryan Nimhard this week, starting point guard, leading the team in assists, scoring double-digit points, and playing the most minutes for them. I just I don't see Creighton. I see Creighton losing their bid in this last week.
Yeah, like I said earlier, the Big East, those are teams that can play some basketball, and they're not really considered a Power 5 team. But I think that in terms of basketball, they're the teams that you got Villanova. That's all you need to say about a Big East. But they're the teams that you love picking in brackets. You love picking those teams because they're always your mid-seeded teams that can cause an upset. Those are your 12-5s. Those are your all those, maybe a 15-2. Like, you love picking those kinds of games because those Big East teams, can play ball, and that's a tough conference where they play each other every week, and they're always back and forth. David, you got?
Well, just to touch on the Big East, I mean, you could almost make a statement that Pac-12 isn't a Power 5 in basketball. Big East is Power 5. I mean, I'm looking at Joe Lunardi's bracketology right now, and he's got 7 Big East teams in. He's got 3 Pac-12.
Yeah.
You better watch what you say about the Pac-12. Bill Walton come get you.
He can come get these hands.
That's a champions conference. That's a champions conference, he says.
I mean, when was the last time they won a champion?
UCLA back in the day?
Exactly. So, all respect to my boy Johnny Juzang. I wish he would have stayed at Kentucky. He would have.
Oh, we would have been him and Grady on the same team. God.
But, he did what he had to do for himself. So, I mean, it's all good. But I mean, that's just where I look at the Pac-12, and I keep seeing Arizona up there, which I know they only have 2 losses. And I know one of that was at a good Tennessee. And I think you said the other one was at Memphis, right? Somebody said that earlier.
They've got 3 losses, I think. They've also lost to SMU.
Yeah, so an SMU's up there. I mean, they might make the tournament as well. So, but then you look at the Big East. I mean, just rattling off I know whenever I was a kid, Villanova, UConn, Georgetown, Seton Hall, Marquette, like the Big East
Providence
is loaded in basketball teams that have like storied, storied programs. So you could almost make the point that Pac-12 is on the decline of Power 5, and put the Big East in there when it comes to basketball. So
yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, but moving into my team, Frank kind of teased him earlier. But I'm going to say Louisville. I think they're just terrible. Just kidding. They're not making the tournament. They're not even in the conversation. I just needed to dig at them. But my real team.
I do. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but talking about Louisville, if they hire a good coach, we need Louisville to be good. We really do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything when they're not good. Like if you beat them, who cares? You beat a mid team, like they're awful. But like, do you hire somebody like Kenny Payne coming in? Then it makes the rivalry a little bit better. That breaks my heart. I know it, but I feel like that's a no-brainer for me. If I'm Louisville, I'm hiring Kenny Payne.
100%. I mean, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be like a Rick Pitino situation. I would hate to have to play against that man once a year or maybe twice a year in the tournament. So, but moving into my pick, I think researching this team, I got just blown away by their resume. But Rutgers, you take a team that has beaten a number 1 Purdue, number 13 Michigan State, number 16 Ohio State, number 14 Wisconsin, number 12 Illinois. They have a 7-4 record against quality teams, and I think they're going to miss the bus. I think they are going to oversleep. They are going to walk down to the Continental Breakfast at 9:58, and they're going to sit down and make their waffle, and they're going to look outside and see the bus drive off 10:05. They're good. Don't get me wrong, but I think they are going to get cold at the worst time. And I think they have some bad losses early in the year to DePaul, Lafayette, UMass, Penn State, and Maryland. Not real strong basketball programs right now. And then right now they're on a 2-game skid, and they're finishing up against they just lost to Michigan. They have number 13 Wisconsin today. This is February 26th, Saturday. And then they have Indiana and Penn State. So I think they lose against Wisconsin because they beat Wisconsin earlier in the year. I think Wisconsin rights that ship today. But I mean, I think if you go down to Indiana and Penn State, that means you're on a 5-game skid going into the Big Ten. If you get one and done there, I mean, they have that 4-game stretch. They beat the 4 straight ranked opponents, and they have the number 1 win against Purdue on their resume. But is it enough where there are so many, like Frank said, the college landscape today is so even. I mean, last year, I think we were talking about who wins the tournament. I mean, Gonzaga and Baylor were, up there, but it was kind of like anybody's ball game. I think this year, especially that case where we have a good 10 to 15 teams where you get hot, you have a chance. Injuries happen, fouls happen. The college basketball game is the greatest drama to watch it and as it unfolds because it's a blank canvas and it's gonna be drawn real quick. So I think Rutgers has a statement today. I think if they play a close game, they probably make it in But I think if Wisconsin blows them out, then they lose two games to two bad opponents. I think they're going to go from being locked into the tournament to missing the bus.
If Rutgers gets in, they're probably a 12-11 team. There's not a more dangerous first-round pick than Rutgers because they've beat, just like you said, they beat 5 teams that are going to be in that seed range this year. Those middle of the pack, AP top 25 teams. So I think they definitely get in for the entertainment factor, right? The committee's a business. Rutgers can make some noise in this tournament. They've had big wins, and they can put on a show.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, people love the Big Ten. And I don't know if I'm sold on – I feel like it's every year they have the most teams in the tournament, but yet they're always the ones that they don't have the Elite 8 teams or the Final 4 teams. So,
I feel like there's a lot of teams in the Big Ten that can give you a really good game but not do it consistently.